necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
It's Kutztown Live with Shantae Taylor. Your campus and community issues and interview radio show. Call Shantae at 610-683-4859. And now, Shantae Taylor on Kutztown Live.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shantae, and welcome to Kutztown Live. I have a representative from ACE with us here today to discuss what is coming this week for Kutztown. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
So you were here last week telling us about all the great events coming up. I know that the drag show will be tomorrow. Can you tell us any other events that you have coming up?
Yep. Also tomorrow we have the trivia night, so you can come test your trivia, things about sports, celebrities, Disney, all types of questions. Next Tuesday, the 12th, we have Berks Got Talent. So the winners of KU's Got Talent will be performing at the Miller Center at Reading Area Community College against about 4 or 5 other colleges.
Okay. Who actually won the KU Got Talent?
The first place winner was Francois Bessing, and the second place winners was the duo of Rob and Ike.
Okay. I've never heard of them before. Okay, yeah. Great.
And one more event we have is Wednesday. It's going to be the poetry competition. So it's spoken word hosted by Rudy Francisco. Mm-hmm. And the top 3 poets will be awarded prizes.
All right, that sounds great. So those are the next events that are coming up within the next couple of weeks, everyone. If anyone wants to come out to any of the events, are the events free to attend?
Yes, they are.
Yep, and it's also free, so that's great. Not only will you hear and see great entertainment, but it is also completely free. And when can they find out more information about these events?
They can add us on any of our social media. It's Ace Kutztown for anything, like for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's Ace Kutztown. And we always have meetings Monday at 4:30 in MSU, so...
Okay. I do have another question. Yes. Are you willing to take feedback from students in regards to events for next semester?
Of course. We do give out surveys usually at our promo tables where you can say your opinion on past events, what your favorite event was, and events that you think should come to the university.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much for coming in and always discussing ACE events.
Thank you.
Have you ever needed help finding reliable sources for a paper? The librarians at the Rohrbach Library want you to know that we can help. Librarians can help you with any research-related projects, papers, and more. The best way to contact a librarian is by asking the information desk for help. If you need assistance off campus, you can always call the reference line at 610-683-4165, or even text a quick question to 610-915-8812. Reference help is available Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., Fridays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Sundays, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. For more information, visit our website at library.kutztown.edu/reference.
All right, everyone. Welcome to Kutztown Live. I have a special guest with me here today. I have Mr. Rick Vito, who graduated from Kutztown University in 1970. Welcome to the show, Mr. Vito.
Hi, how are you? It's 71, actually.
Oh, 71. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So it's been a while, since you've attended Kutztown. And I would like to know, what did you major when you attended Kutztown University?
I finally settled into speech and theater. I was a theater major, and I originally applied as an art student, but that didn't work out. And so I was able to transfer that interest into something else that I found quite interesting. It really was very useful to me later on when I got into what I was doing in show business. So,
So
I was never, I was always happy with the choice.
so did you do a couple of plays after graduation before getting into music?
Oh yeah, there was lots of productions while I was at Kutztown. You know, quite a few. But I was doing music at the same time, parallel, not formally.
Yes. So like, did you start playing music in the 1970s?
Could you ask that again? What did you say?
Did you start to play music while you were in college during the 1970s?
Oh no, I started playing music in the early '60s, pre-Beatles.
Oh, okay.
So I was
Great.
playing as a kid, and I was sort of semi-professional in high school in that we were playing some clubs and such in Philadelphia area.
Oh, great. That's great. So like, did you play while you were here at Kutztown University and
Yeah,
throughout the Lehigh
I kind
Valley?
of. Yeah, I used to play in the Georgian dining room and at the Lutheran Student Center, and I played we had one of the first blues festivals that any college had in '68 or '69, Kutztown Blues Festival. We had the great Muddy Waters come and play and his band, and we opened up for Muddy Waters. And so yeah, definitely a lot of music was going on around Kutztown at the time.
I know. So how would you compare the music from the 1960s and 70s to the music today? Would you say that it has, I know that it has changed, but would you say that it has changed in a bad way or a good way?
Well, I can't say bad because what's uninteresting for me at this stage of the game could be very interesting for people of your generation. Say, I'll just tell you that at the '60s was a time that everything was exploding musically. There was a surge in creativity of many acts like the Beatles. I mean, the whole English Invasion, Motown, Stax, all this music coming out of the South, and it was just this barrage of new music. It was all new, and it was all had never been done before. So I think for me, I'm glad that I was there for that period of time musically. I don't hear as much happening now that interests me on the level that I found it interesting then.
Yes, I would definitely say that the music was very, very different in the 1960s and 70s. Like, I know that my grandparents, they listened to like the Beach Boys and the Supremes and the Beatles.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Was
So,
just unbelievable.
Yeah, but I think the music was very great and positive. I would definitely say that about the music. And it made you feel
young
happy.
people were hopeful really hopeful of the future, and so with different climate now.
So, I mean, and I love how everyone actually wrote their own music. Like, I don't know, to me, it seemed like the music was much more original during that time in comparison to today, into today's generation. That's what I would say.
That's a good observation because it's very true. In fact, when I moved to Los Angeles, that was the very reason why I did well out there. It was because there was so much of an emphasis on singer-songwriters, groups that were writing their own music. There was a vibrant recording scene that was going on, so there was a lot of work for session musicians and songwriters and such.
Yes, and I think that's why a lot of people were successful, and I think today is probably easier to get your name out there with social media and technology, and it's sort of easier for people to get famous really quick for not even having talent, which is very unfortunate. And I definitely think that whenever I go and watch a play or go and watch a music program, the singer sounds exactly like their tape when they perform live, and I love that. But today, there's like I said, it's technology, and a lot of the music is very auto-tuned, and a lot of the music is mixed and mastered differently, and so the artists don't sound as good as they do on a tape, and that just makes me very disappointed.
Yeah.
in some of the music.
Technology
Yeah.
is good and it's bad. It's a double-edged sword for sure. It sort of killed the music industry to a certain extent. From the personal point of view, the musicians who were working in it, there wasn't there's another difference between then and now. There's just such a high volume of people who can make their own records at home. And, the competition is much, much, much stiffer now than it was then. Back then, if you had something original and you were good, if you could somehow get to the attention of record companies, there was a good chance that you could have followed through. Today, there's such a onslaught of people trying to break into the business that, it's not as easy. It really isn't as easy. I think it's harder for young people today. You can get product out there, but to be successful, there was a wider range of success available to you back then, I think.
And I want to know, do you currently still play today? And if so, how often do you play?
Well, I'm playing tomorrow night at Kutztown.
Yeah,
so I play every day. I play every day.
You do. I do know that you are performing tomorrow at the benefit concert. How do you feel about performing at the benefit concert here at Kutztown University?
Well, I feel great about it because Greg Perdon was a really good friend of mine. He was a terrific artist. We were roommates for a semester at college, and he was very supportive of me, almost from the first that I met him, and certainly long after we both graduated from Kutztown, we stayed close. And so, unfortunately, he passed away, and so he couldn't continue on. So it's great to be able to memorialize him in this way.
Yes, great. And is that one of the reasons why you're performing? I know that it's also for a scholarship. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, some friends of mine, headed by Thomas Chalet, was also a very close friend of Greg's, initiated the scholarship fund, and he's a teacher at Northampton, so it's a concerted effort between Northampton and Kutztown to benefit a talented young artist.
Great, that's so great that you are actually performing here, at Kutztown University, and it's also going to a great cause for scholarships.
Yes, it sure is. Yeah,
that's great. And how long ago have you performed at Kutztown? Like, is this your first time performing here in about 10 or 15 years or so?
No, I was actually there, I think just 2 years ago. I performed in Schaefer Auditorium, and so that was the first time I performed in Schaefer Auditorium since maybe 1970, 71 or so. I did come back and I played, there was a singer who was popular in the 70s called Maria Muldaur, and I did a short stint in her band, and we did play Kutztown in maybe 1979 or so.
Okay.
The gym, I believe.
Yeah. So, do you still currently keep in contact with her, and do the two of you still perform?
Maria Muldaur?
Yes.
I haven't been in touch with Maria in quite some time, but we're I'd say a couple of years. But she has recorded 3 or 4 of my songs over the years, and we're good friends.
Okay, and how does it feel overall to be back at Kutztown? It seems as though you still love it here. Would you say that things have changed for you?
Well, things have definitely changed, but we had a wonderful time playing here 2 years ago, and it was so great to see, the campus again, and so many of my old friends that I knew from long ago, and so it's kind of a combination of both. It's certainly a much bigger campus than it was it was still Kutztown State Teachers College when I was there.
Oh, wow.
Hadn't been granted university status yet. So it was a much smaller campus, but I think we were the first group that, do you still have Dietrich Hall? It was a men's hall back then, a men's living quarters, Dietrich Hall. They were still building that. We used to go down in the basement and get rats. They were still building it when we moved in that first year. So kind of fun to think about those old times.
Do you think that you and the rest of your classmates here at Kutztown could do like a reunion tour concert?
Yeah, it sort of feels like a reunion, when some of the old friends turn up. It certainly was 2 years ago. It was definitely felt like a class reunion of all the folks who were attending Kutztown around the same time. Even if we didn't graduate in the same years, there was many of us who were friends who were 2-3 years apart.
Do you think that all of you, like musicians that graduated here in Kutztown University in the 1970s, do you think that all of you can reunite and do a tour, like a music tour?
No, I don't think so, because the fellows that I was working with at that time, the musicians, they're not. They didn't continue on with music as professionals. Now, there's one of the guys that's going to be sitting in tomorrow night. His named Rick Valenti, and we used to perform together as a duo at Kutztown. And he still does perform in the Philadelphia area, in New Jersey, and such. To this day. So he's the only one that from that era that's still playing music other than me.
All right. I do have one last question. Actually, two
Sure.
last questions. First, how has your music changed from the 1970s until now?
Well, I think working in Los Angeles with so many artists that I have, I just gained a greater versatility and a knowledge of music. So I've always tried to keep up with what was going on and improve my playing, improve my songwriting and vocal skills and that kind of thing. So I think I'm just, you put that much time into it, you get better. So I think I'm just better.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, I would like to know, what goals do you have for yourself in the next 5 years?
Well, I continue to perform with my own bands. I have different bands in Europe and in Hawaii and California and Pennsylvania and Nashville, depending on where the venues are. So I hope to keep performing with them. And I also continue to work with Mick Fleetwood, the drummer from Fleetwood Mac. And we have the Mick Fleetwood Blues Band, which was Grammy nominated a few years ago. So hopefully between those two things, I'll continue to be able to create and tour and put records out, and that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Great. And I really, really hope that the show goes well tomorrow. It seems like a big show. And like I said, I'm really happy that you are doing it for a great cause. You're taking time out of your day to come here and perform again at Kutztown University for all the student, staff, and faculty and community members here at Kutztown. And I hope that you perform here again at Kutztown University and continue to perform, until whenever you're done. But yes,
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for letting me
You're welcome, and look
today.
forward to seeing you tomorrow night, Schaefer Auditorium.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
All right, everyone. That was Mr. Vito. He graduated here in 1971, and he will be performing at the benefit concert tomorrow, and the proceeds will go to a scholarship. Stay tuned. You're listening to Kutztown Live.
Rick Vito, a KU alumnus and world-famous blues guitarist, will present a benefit concert for the Greg Purdon 1970 Memorial Scholarship on April 8th at 7:30 p.m. The scholarship will benefit a Northampton Community College student who has graduated from the Northampton Community College and will be entering KU as a major within the College of Visual and Performing Arts. Tickets are $20 general admission and $10 for KU and NCC students. Donations of $200 or more will receive one complimentary ticket. To purchase tickets, please call the KU Presents box office at 610-683-4092. That's 610-683-4092. Once again, April 8th at 7:30 p.m., Rick Vito in concert at Schaefer Auditorium. Be there.
Me and say, Good morning, KUR listeners. This is Curtis Rosenbauer with a sports update from the Keystone News. The KU men's baseball team will face off against Shippensburg University Friday, April 15th at 3 p.m. at the North Campus Field for the second half of a doubleheader. The KU Bears will be led by standout junior catcher Darian Sarlat, who is batting .600, and junior infielder Zach Schramm, who is batting .400. KU is coached by Chris Bloom, along with assistant coaches Adam Schaefer, Chad Dirk, and Brad Hawk. The visiting Raiders of Shippensburg will come into the game led by sophomore utility player Dalton Hoyles, who is batting .417, and senior outfielder Austin Allison, who is averaging .381.
Hi everyone, it's Shantae and welcome back to Kutztown Live. We just had a great interview with Mr. Vito, and later on in the show, we will have independent Andy Ostrowski. He is currently running for Senate. He will be on the show later on today to discuss why he is running for Senate and also to talk about his campaign and what he's doing in an effort to make people vote for him. Because as you all know, elections is coming up. It's coming up, and I'm really excited. I think that this is a big, big election. And I just got done watching a video in my class before I came on the show, and we were talking about the lack of women leaders here in the United States. We watched a video that showed all these third world countries, like Africa and all these other places around the world have had a lot of female leaders, you know? And it's very unfortunate that a lot of people in the United States tried to run for president. People before Hillary Clinton, like Shirley Chisholm, tried to run for president, along with a few other women who weren't successful. And like I said, like a lot of women leaders in other countries have had women ministers and presidents in their countries, not just one, but many in their country, and yet the United States hasn't had a woman president yet. And I don't know why. I know that other powerful countries such as China, they haven't had a woman president either. So maybe it's because we aren't a third world country. Maybe that's it, and we just want to stick to being traditional. Because when you think of a leader, you think of usually a white male who's somewhat experienced. You don't think of a woman when you think of a leader. And because I'm taking this leadership class here at Kutztown University, and it's just telling us how to be a leader, what leaders are, and what you can do to change the typical leader. And I also watched another video where it sort of explained that how growing up in households, parents always tell their young boys that they should be leader, they should take charge, they should be more powerful, while the girls are told that they should be more, motherly and girly and be more feminine. And the woman in the video, she was telling that young girls that they should be the next generation to be the change, sort of. She was pretty much telling everyone that we should be more vocal, and that women are least likely to ask for a raise. And if a male were to accomplish a goal or task, and they said, "How did she do this?" a man would say, "I'm great." And in comparison to a woman, she would say, it's because, I worked really hard, or I tried, or I received help from someone and someone else got me in here. Whereas a guy wouldn't say that. And she said that that's a problem, and she's hoping for a change. She's hoping that women take the charge, and she wants to see a change. She wants more women to be leaders. I didn't know that. I thought that Hillary was the first woman to actually run for president, because she ran back in 2008 against Barack Obama, and now she's currently running against Bernie Sanders. And so, honestly, I think the world is ready for a female president. I'm not sure if she's going to win. I'm still not even sure who I'm going to vote for. But I think the world is ready for the United States to have a female president, because, like I said, other countries have had several females in power in comparison to the United States, and I don't know why that is. I'm thinking it's because the United States is scared of change. They fear change, and they just want to stick to what is usual, like the tradition. And that's why I think it took so long for them to have a black president and to allow gay people to be married, because they don't like change. And what if Hillary Clinton does win president? What's going to happen is people going to say she can't run for president because she's a female, and because they believe she's too feminine to run, and they feel as though she's going to be too emotional to run the world. So yeah, I mean, that video really, really inspired me to be more vocal and to definitely speak up. And some of the suggestions that she gave was attend more meetings. If you feel as though you're being mistreated, say it. Stick up for yourself. And she says, own your own success. That's the one quote that stuck out with me. Own your own success. Because too often women give credit to other people, and they don't credit themselves for their success. They gonna say, like, I was great, I was awesome, I did this to make this happen for myself. And, that's what I'm gonna take, with me in the workforce. Because our teacher told us to write down some of the messages that we saw in the video and what we were going to do in the workforce, what we wanted to do to accomplish those goals. And that's sort of what I wrote down. I was going to be more vocal. If I feel as though I need a raise or I want a raise, I'm going to speak up. And she said a lot of women, also when it comes to relationships, if a man and a husband have full-time jobs, who do you think will leave their job when the child is sick? Most often the woman, she was saying. And also, not only does the woman have her full-time job, but she also has to take care of the house and the kids, and she also had to feed her husband. So she's not only taking on one full-time job, she's taking on 3 full-time jobs in comparison to her partner, who's only taking on 1 full-time job. And she also said that when it comes to leaving the children, the woman feels guilt for leaving her child. And that's why some women, they do tend to be stay-at-home moms, and they do tend to leave their job at certain times to care for the children. But she was also telling men and women in the audience that they should work together as partners when it comes to household duties and when it comes to their child. They should work, in a team effort to take care of their child, because all of the work shouldn't be on the woman. And she was pretty much saying that, women do go through a lot, and they do a lot, but they don't get the credit and recognition that they deserve. And that's something that I always told myself. I actually got into an argument with an ex-boyfriend of mine who said that that he believes that the woman should be at home while the man works. And that's just something that I didn't believe in. I always told myself that I did not want it to be a stay-at-home mom. I always wanted to be something more. And that's what I think. I mean, I'm not saying that is for everyone, because I know women that are fine with doing that. But we'll be right back with our guest, Mr. Ostrowski. He will be on air. Stay tuned. You're listening to the All Day Show with Shantae.
It's Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us.
Rules and regulations set up by government entities govern our society. Most of these rules and regulations are set up to keep the world and its inhabitants safe. Things so small as not to jaywalk across the street to as large as the EPA's Clean Air Act. But with all this talk of satellites being launched into the Earth's orbit, have you ever wondered what rules and regulations do they follow? Well, allow me, Andrew Thompson on KUR, to explain. First, unlike the United Nations, which governs a lot of the world, there is no real council or organization that governs satellites. Each state adopts their own space laws and regulations. In saying that, some states would have better rules and regulations than other states. Although the Russians may have won the beginning stages of the space race against the U.S. is the world leader for regulations regarding space activity. Licensing laws are very simple, based off the International Outer Space Treaty. Each state is in charge of its own space activity, public and private. Private satellites must be authorized and supervised by the appropriate state party. So licensing is the easiest way to regulate things, creating a link to the state and the licensee. In terms of registration, each state is obligated to register satellites belonging to its public entities, national or private companies in its national register, and to register them with the UN Secretary General. Easy enough, right? But registration has been declining. In 1975, there were 0% of unregistered objects in space, but in 2004, there were 30.5, mainly because there is no set timeline as to when registration must be sent in. It's like getting an assignment from a professor with no due date. So many states either forget to turn it in or they do very late. Radio frequencies are the strictest and therefore the hardest to explain. When it comes to radio frequencies, nobody, national or international level, wants radio frequencies to interfere with anything. So the International Telecommunication Union, or the ITU, was set in place to govern. Essentially, depending on the mission and how big the satellite is how it's regulated to the ITU. But the states themselves are in charge of making sure they are up to standard with the ITU, prevent harmful interference, and make sure they have the license from the state. Last and definitely the least complicated rules are regulating space debris, which is literally just telling states to try to limit it. Just like telling people to try and keep the talking down on the library, for breaking these regulations, the state that did it would pay compensation to the state that it harmed. Pretty much, the bigger the damage, the blanker the check. Hopefully, I was able to shed some light on the behind-the-scenes of the rules and regulations regarding satellites.
Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us. Stay tuned to KUR for more telescopic topics, and for more information or to hear the segment again, click on the Telescopic Topics icon on the KUR website at www.kutztown.edu/KUR. Telescopic Topics is a production of the KU Physical Sciences Department and is recorded by the KU astronomy students in the studios of KUR. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Are you a leader? Are you interested in making a difference on campus? Student Government Board is looking for people like you. As a member on Student Government Board, you can have a say on many diverse issues and be a voice for your fellow Golden Bears. After nominations end on March 31st, voting will take place on K United April 4th through April 8th. Student Government Board members will be at voting tables in the Student Union on Monday, April 4th and Wednesday, April 6th from 10 to 3 if you would like to meet some people. Student Government Board, stand up, stand out, let your voice be found.
Hey everyone, it's Shantae and welcome back to Kutztown Live. As I told you all earlier, I have Mr. Andy Ostrowski, who is currently running for Senate, and he is on the line now. Good afternoon.
Hi Shantae, how you doing?
Hi, how are you doing? So
I'm
nice
doing
to talk
fantastic.
to you.
I'm happy to join you guys down there at Kutztown. I'm a graduate of Millersville University, so
yes, I did see that.
Props to the state system of higher education.
Yes, I actually did see that you went to Millersville. It's not too far from here, actually.
You're right.
So, the first question that everybody wants to know: why are you running for Senate?
Well, that's a great place to start. We're running for Senate because we need some serious reform in this system. I ran for Congress in 2014. My slogan when I was out running for Congress was "Give government back to the people," And I think that anybody out there who's following modern politics, be it from the Bernie Sanders Democratic side of this thing or the Donald Trump, Republican side of this thing, know that there's a heck of a lot of people out in this country right now who don't feel that our government is working for them anymore. And that's in a very sweeping way why I'm running. Another reason, within all that is there's a lot of people in this country that are suffering, in many ways that don't get addressed through the system. My background is as a civil rights lawyer, and I've been working as a court reform advocate. And there are people across this country getting thrown out of their houses, by banks on, fraudulent papers. There are families being torn apart in these domestic relations courts. There are civil rights litigants, victims of police abuse and whistleblowers out there who are not getting justice through the courts. The deck is stacked against the individual and individual liberties, and we're incrementally losing our rights, our individual rights in this country, and we need people in this system who are willing to talk about these issues, who know what these issues are about, and that's me. I don't think that I'm anything special or anything, but God has put me in a situation in my life where I have been in courts trying to represent people, trying to get access to justice for whatever, and it's a lot of whistleblowers and a lot of the police abuse, and things of that nature. And we just need somebody out there getting back to real grassroots issues to get outside of this two-party system, because we didn't cover that, and I'm sure that I'm not running as a Democrat or a Republican. I'm running as an independent. We're building a grassroots effort across the state to get a lot of people out there running as independents.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question. You did say, when I was emailing you a week or so ago, and you were telling me that you are currently doing a real grassroots campaign. Can you tell us exactly what that is?
Well, what it is so a couple people that I've worked with, and again, I did this as a Democrat in 2014. And, when I was out there running, I was thinking, this two-party system you just don't have access on all the real issues that are talking about. And there are people all over the state. I'm connected with a guy out in the western Pennsylvania that runs homeless shelters for formerly incarcerated individuals. I'm connected with people down in Philadelphia who are, kind of connected to the former prison populations. And, we're connected to a former, a guy by the name of Jesse Epps, who was he's a Civil Rights Hall of Fame guy, a former crony of Martin Luther King. I've got people up here in the Northeast who come from the Tea Party movement. I've got people who, are dealing with the domestic relations courts. And, so this is what I mean about grassroots. It's not the party apparatus out there. It's people who, we have a common message that we share with, that we're reaching out to. It's all that Bernie Sanders grassroots support. We've got a guy, in fact, I really would like your help. I think that we have a message for the millennials. We have a message for people that are, coming up and voting for only their first or second time, that there's something outside of this two-party system to vote for. We've got a 25, are you guys familiar with that group, Anonymous?
No.
Okay, well, they're tradition, they were known as they were like internet hackers, but that's not really what they do. These are guys who are just out there, trying to protest against government corruption and advocate for government reform. And I've got you got to be 25 years old to run for Congress under the Constitution. And we have a 25-year-old guy from State College, Pennsylvania.
That's great.
Who's one of the people out here running. We've got another 32-year-old guy from up here in Scranton who comes from Brooklyn but came down into Pennsylvania and started seeing, how corrupt some of the politics is, and he's out running against that. Why do I talk to you, Shante, or explain to you in the emails about the radio program that we're doing here, twigscaferadio.com. And, my friend Lou Jasikoff, who's been doing this, he's a former, he's still a libertarian, but he's running as an independent. And we're talking about independent media. We're talking about doing supporting stuff like you're doing, just getting out and doing, non-corporate media stuff. So that's what we mean at grassroots. We're talking about people out there who are thinking outside the box and looking at issues that don't get looked at and talking about issues that don't get talked about and are willing to get behind candidates who, aren't backed by special interests and don't have super PACs and don't have big corporate money and corporate sponsors and, big banks running the show for them. That's what we mean by the grassroots effort.
Yeah, I like how you said that you are discussing issues that aren't typically discussed. Like, I think the main issues that every congressman or woman discusses, like education, healthcare, and those issues are definitely important. But I think that there are many other issues that other people can relate to, and I think it's great that your campaign is all about that, and that you are actually working with people that are 25 and 32. Like, you're actually giving these young people a chance to actually work with you, and you're taking a chance on them. So,
well,
I like that as well.
You guys are the future. Know, I mean, we can get out and look out for ourselves. Okay, I'm 51 years old, and this is my second run for office. But, there's a lot of people in your generation, in your age groups, in this college age, or what we're calling the millennials, who, have been frozen out of this system. And it's your future that's really at stake here. And, we are, and that, maybe I don't necessarily, again, subscribe to the solutions that Bernie Sanders is talking about, but you guys are talking about being saddled with debt that is going to burden you for decades to come. I graduated law school. I graduated, like I said, in Millersville. I didn't have that much debt because college was a lot cheaper back then. But, then I went to law school and I heaped on a bunch more debt. And those debts are, $500-600 a month, and they last for 10 and 15 and 20 and 25 years. And when you have this much debt burden that you're carrying, your opportunities are really limited in the future. I don't necessarily know, what the solution is to that. I think that, there's a lot of responsibility when you're responsible for your own future and financing it. And, I don't know, about the policies behind free college education, but, you guys are the ones that are going to be carrying this burden into the future. And $19 trillion of debt that just continues to accumulate, and the Federal Reserve System that just continues to print money and jam it into this economy and inflate the money supply. I mean, there's going to be some real ramifications and consequences of that come in the future, and you're not hearing a lot of people talk about that.
Yes, definitely. Like I said, you were definitely talking about some real important issues here, and I would like to know, what are you doing in an effort to make people aware of your campaign? Like, I know you said you do reach out to other companies and go on interviews that aren't, in the major networks, but what else are you doing in an effort to make people aware?
Well, right now, in Pennsylvania, to get ballot access as a third party, it's a real difficult burden. And, frankly, Shantae, one reason I'm doing this show with you, I don't know how big your audience is, but, there might be 100 people, 500 people, 50 people, whoever. There might be somebody out there that says, oh, I heard that Andy Ostrowski. Hey, how can we help out? So I'm reaching out to anybody and everybody to say, if you want to talk about a grassroots effort, if you want to talk about issues that are important, if you want to start getting excited about a political effort outside of this two-party process, that's how we're going about it. Again, we're not even to the point of really, raising funds. And, as much as, it's a necessity at some level, we want to try to eschew that and, just get people excited at grassroots level. And, maybe 5 of your listeners will say, hey, how can we help out down here in Kutztown? And I'll tell you how you can help out. I'll come down there and meet with you, and I'll bring you a stack of petitions, and you can go, help circulate and say, hey, this is a guy that's out here running against the two-party system, that's talking about issues that don't get talked about. And maybe some of you people down there, I don't know what the age limit is, to run for office, in the State House in Pennsylvania. I have to look up. But there were, we have 203 State House seats, Shantae, in Pennsylvania. In 2014, half of them ran unopposed. And, maybe some of your people, listeners, maybe they're thinking, wow, maybe I want to try that. It's not real difficult. You just get out and you knock on some doors, or you go to some malls, or hang out at some grocery stores, or go to some street fairs, or, and go to places and gather signatures and get your name on a ballot and figure it out from there. So that's how we're doing it. That's what we're doing. And, in fact, right before I talked to you, just like 2 minutes before, I hung up with I was on a conference call with something called the Centrist Project, which is a national organization looking to get behind grassroots, kind of outside the two-party system candidates for United States Congress. So I am working with groups across the country who are trying to, break this stranglehold that the two-party system has on our politics.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's great. And like you said, like you went from being a Democrat to an independent, and you say that it is kind of tough, for you, and it has been tough in comparison to when you were running as a Democrat. Now, not so many people know what an independent is, but I would like to know, do you think you running as an independent makes it easier or harder for you to run and harder for people to sort of understand where you're coming from?
Well, that's kind of the idea. I mean, in some respects, I already outlined one of the difficulties. One of the difficulties is, trying to generate interest and get ballot access. I mean, 21,000 signatures is what I need, and that's just the bare minimum. I'd like to get 35,000 signatures to, get a sure spot on the ballot. And you know what? I don't want the label. Maybe it will take a little bit of work, and maybe, that's what we want. I mean, so many people just, look at that label D or R. You get your choice between Coke and Pepsi, or as I say, you get to choose between A and B when we've got 26 letters in the alphabet. When you're choosing just between Democrats and Republicans. And I don't subscribe to the agenda of the Democrats or the Republicans. Maybe I like a little bit of what both of them say, but I also like a little bit of what Green Party people say, and also like a little bit of what Libertarians say. And, maybe it's time to, get out there and start waking people up in this country. I mean, we've got to educate ourselves to take back this country. And, it's all our founding fathers were advocates of that. They say if an electorate chooses not to educate itself, then we're going to lose our democracy. We're going to lose our republic. And as long as people are just content to rely on, well, he's a Democrat, so I'm voting for him, or she's a Republican, so I'm voting for her, that's exactly what we're doing, because neither of those parties is ultimately working for us, because no matter how you look at it, we are on a path in this country that is on a path of decline, and I think that's pretty universally understood. And we've passed power back and forth between Democrats and Republicans for, the past however long. I mean, we've never had anything other than a Democrat or Republican since before Lincoln. But let's just go back 30 years. Nothing has changed. I don't see, a Ted Cruz or a Donald Trump pulling this country back to where it belongs, nor do I see a Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders doing it, because there's a certain structural limitations of the two-party system where, you're never going to get to the issues that need to be there. Everybody has an interest in maintaining the status quo as it is, and we just need people out there who really want to shake it up and talk about things and bring issues to the table that don't get talked about.
Mm-hmm. And so you did mention that, like I said, you are an independent and used to be a Democrat. But what do you feel makes you different from Katie McGinty and Joe Sestak and John Fetterman? Like, what makes you different from the other candidates that are running?
Well, what makes me different primarily is, I'm going to be talking about issues, like I talk about issues of access to justice and court reform, and I highlighted that. I'm a civil rights lawyer by background. I know how difficult it is to go into court as a minority who's been discriminated against, or a woman who's been discriminated against, or somebody who's been abused by the cops, or a whistleblower who has tried to expose government corruption, and how that court system kind of keeps it's very, very difficult to get access. You don't just go in and get jury trials, and people need to understand how important the court system is to change in this country, and how difficult access is. So that's one thing that I'm different than everybody out there on. And, in addition, you don't hear people talking about fundamental, banking reform, Federal Reserve reform. It's like the Ron Paul message, end the Fed. And, maybe, that's something we get to, but we've got to audit this Federal Reserve system. We've got to figure out how we're printing, how we're making money in this country, and how that is a real cause of some of the problems. We've got to talk about real corporate reform. We've got to talk about not just raising the taxes on the wealthy and raising the taxes on Wall Street, but kind of restructuring. Corporations are servants of man. They are beneath. They are. We've got our rights endowed by us individually by our Creator. Under us comes our government. Under the government comes corporations. This whole system has been restructured, so it's government, then the corporations, then the individual. And that's wrong. And there are things that can be done, to restructure that. And certainly, you don't hear anybody talking about these issues that I'm talking about. And I'm going to keep on talking about them. And we're excited about what we're doing here. And I really think that we're going to generate a good grassroots movement with people like your help, Shante.
Oh, thank you. And I do want to know, how has your campaign been going so far? Would you say that it is going successfully? Or what can you do to make things different for yourself if it's not?
Well, I need people to generate interest. I need interest. I need people hearing about the word. Once we're successful in spreading the word to people, everybody that we've talked to, and I do have a lot of grassroots people that are getting excited about getting out there and spreading the word and gathering signatures. And really, people don't really get in. I mean, there's a lot of interest right now because we've got primaries coming up and it's a presidential year, so there's a lot of excitement about that. But traditionally, for the statewide offices, for the Senate and congressional offices, it's only the fall where really, things get moving. Not that I'm not going to continue to work, but right now, and I established a pretty good name for myself, and people can go on my AndyOstrowski.com website, and they can watch the debate that I had against Lou Barletta, in the 2014 election. And, I am getting a little bit of media coverage here. But until, we get out there and get firmly established on the ballot and get our signatures, I'm not really out there, pushing. I mean, I want to, and every opportunity I do, and I get calls and I talk to people and I appear on shows when I can, and we spread the word. But, I'm not so much out there right now going to campaign rallies and doing all this kind of stuff. The way it works in Pennsylvania is you have, as a third party or an independent, we have until August 1st is our deadline to even get our signatures in. So I want to do it much sooner than that. I want to, hopefully, sometime in May or June, start getting my filings on and have 21,000 signatures and start talking about some of these things. But right now, Shante, it's just a matter of, networking with the right people and, getting with the tops of some of these grassroots organizations and getting people down on the street, out on the streets. I've been down in Philadelphia. I attended the Philadelphia Pentecostal Ministers Breakfast a couple of weeks ago. And that's outside of the, it's not a democratic apparatus. These are people of faith who are out there, trying to work with people in the streets who are fatherless and motherless and homeless and, have children getting shot and, have faced bleak prospects in their future. This is the kind of people that I'm working with, and I do that all over the state. So, you might not be hearing a lot or know a lot about me now, and I'm not a name like a Sestak or a McGinney or a Fetterman. But come fall, I'm going to be right up in there, right up there and right in there with the rest of them, and drawing some people into this thing.
Wow. Yes. I definitely like what you're doing here with your Roots Grass campaign and how you're trying to do things to make people in the efforts and make people aware about your campaign, and also you're trying to get your foot out there, and it's kind of hard because you are an independent, and like you said, you are no longer a Democrat
right.
candidate. So it's sort of different, and you are working with other people on this campaign, and you are working with young people as well, and I think that can make a difference as well, because I feel as though a lot of these candidates that are running, they definitely need the young people's vote, and they definitely need a young voice in their campaign.
You guys are everything.
Yes.
And that's really where it's going to start. And that's who's supporting Bernie Sanders out there are,
yes,
a lot of the millennials. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know that he's going to be the presidential candidate, but, I don't think that you're going to have that same access with Hillary Clinton. And I think, you need to start, looking beyond the two-party system and getting excited about people. And Shantae, to the extent you can, I mean, I was down last week in East Stroudsburg, meeting with some people in East Stroudsburg. I've got some connections at Millersville that I'm reaching out to. And, to the extent you can reach out at Kutztown or anywhere else among this state university system. And, I've got my old contacts at Bloomsburg from when I ran there in the district that I ran. Help me spread the word. And, I really appreciate it. And, would love any support we can get and anything you can do for us.
Yes, and I really, really do appreciate you coming here and discussing your campaign on Kutztown Live. And I would like to come on your show as well. I know that we were emailing about me possibly coming on your show. And maybe we can set. Unfortunately, I can't do anything today because I have a group project, and I'm also going to be forming the drag show here at Kutztown University.
Okay.
But I would definitely like to set something up.
And is it that other number that you called me on? Is that your cell number?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we will definitely stay in touch. And please, Shantae, I mean, we do these interviews because I want, I certainly want to be of service to everybody, all the millennials out there down the road. But we also need support. I mean, we need your help. And anything that you can do to, spread the word, get people coming our way. Heck, you can come up here to Tunkhannock, Pennsylvania, and come in our studio or do it by phone, however you want to do it. We had a carload of students from University of Binghamton come down. We've had people from University of Scranton come up. I just really think that, we're tapping into something that this, college age, millennial type of age range and group and demographic. And, I really need your support, really need your help.
Yes, and I would love to give you all the help I can give you. And that's why I brought you here on the show, and maybe I can also do another interview with you for the newspaper here at Kutztown University as well as our television program. But, I will definitely keep in contact with you, and we can definitely set something up. And, again, thank you so much for coming on Kutztown Live, and I hope you have a great day.
All right, you too. Take care.